Sports. The program you know and love is back. And on this episode, we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers taking a hallucinogenic. Kevin Durant still putting an ultimatum down. We're going to have a Dope the Week. We're going to, of course, go from the vault, and we'll have a subject that I really do believe you'll love, and we'll put that upon further review. But for now, let's get to the headlines. So we'll start with the Major League Baseball area. So, of course, now the trade deadline has come and it has gone. And now we have settled into who is going to be where and who is going to compete for what. And many eyes are basically, to me, are on the Astros, the Yankees, the Mets, the Braves, and the Dodgers. Every other team, you pretty much will have to say, you have to go through one of those five, and I'll probably even scratch the Braves off the list and say you have to go through one of those four. The Mets have been pretty much hot all year, and they've tailed off a little bit during the summer. The Dodgers have been steady. They have been basically the best team in the majors, but they've had their hiccups here and there, especially with the bullpen. The American League, please direct me to any team that can slow down, slow down the Astros and the Yankees. I don't know which team can do it. You can give me Indians. You can give me Mariners. You can give me Rays. You can give me any other team. They just won't do it. To me, in the American League, it's between the Yankees and the Astros. And in the National League, to me, it's between the Mets and the Dodgers. Maybe the Braves. We shall see. It isn't over yet because we still have a little less than 2 months to go before we even enter into the wild card phase, which, if I'm not mistaken, this year it's a best of three. Major League Baseball wants their money. Let's switch over to Miami, shall we? So the Dolphins QB Tua Tagovailoa, man, I feel so bad for this guy. So he got married over the weekend, but someone leaked out that he got married. Now, he was a little upset. He took umbrage about that. To that, all I have to say to you, sir, is you're a member of the public, and it's unfortunate that this information got out, and you did not want it to get out, but it did. And you have to, I won't say pay the consequences for it. You have to live with the hiccup, faux pas, but also along with that, you've had to deal with a lot of stuff, right? So you had to deal with the fact that the organization that you play for, the Dolphins, they wanted Tom Brady and they couldn't get him. And now your owner, Stephen Ross, has been punished for it. The NFL slapped his wrist and fined him. You also had to deal with the fact that Deshaun Watson was on their radar and they went hard after him, not once, but twice. And they still didn't get him. So I can understand your frustration in my purview. If I were to be a quarterback and the team that drafted me high in the first round is looking at two franchise quarterbacks who've already established themselves, it would make me think, does this team really want me there? Well, you may have your answer sooner rather than later, and you may not like the answer. Let's go to the NBA, shall we? Philly, as a matter of fact. The Sixers signing of James Harden is being investigated by the NBA for tampering. So we are investigating Jalen Brunson's pickup from the Knicks, and now we're doing it 106 miles to the southwest. So the contract is as follows. He was traded, Tom Harden, from the Nets to the Sixers back in February. And he declined the player option on his final year, but he signed a 2-year deal, which is worth almost $69 million. Now he'll be paid $33 million this year with a $12 million pay cut. And the reduction in salary basically was Harden's way of saying, well, you know what, I'm a team guy. And I want you to sign as many guys that we need to have on the team, chiefly amongst them being PJ Tucker. Now, he can be a free agent next year. And he could sign a new deal for the basically for the price tag that many thought he would go for this year, which would be roughly about 47 million. But all of that, because it's like a handshake type of deal, may be in violation of the collective bargaining agreement between the Players Association and the NBA. Well, I guess the Sixers president of basketball operations, Daryl Morey, has a lot of explaining to do. Let's see how that goes. Let's see where it goes. Because I think where there's smoke, there's fire. Back to the NFL. And okay, fine. I'll just come right out and say it. The ridiculousness of these uniforms that are coming out. I don't give a crap if the Texans want to go all red, or if the Bears want to go all orange, or if the Panthers want to go all black or all Carolina blue. I don't care. I understand why. Because they want to have the little tykes to be interested. Now I know you'd probably say, well, Cole, the little tykes don't have money. No, they don't. But their parents do. And this is something that I saw from WWE in regards to how they would market toward the parents of the children of the product, because they were in love and they were infatuated with John Cena. Now, the adults, they didn't really like the guy and booed him out the building, but the children loved him. The children ate him up. And because the parents of the children had disposable income and they wanted to placate the children, they funded WWE for about a 10-year stretch, even though you heard the crowd chant, "Let's go Cena," and Cena sucks every single time a big time event happened. Well, that's what's happening here with these uniforms. The children will love it because it's all cute and it's all fancy, because you'll see the Bears in all orange and the Cardinals in all black and the Jets in all black and the Panthers in all black or all blue and the Cowboys with their white helmets. No, 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 no. I don't want it. I don't like it. I don't care about that. It isn't feasible. That's the best word I can put forward to it. It isn't feasible in terms of the product on the field. It won't matter. It isn't feasible, but you can do what you want to do anyway. Staying with the NFL, let's go down to DC, shall we? Or should I say, let's go down to Virginia, where Carson Wentz, he's had a rough go of it thus far as the Commanders' commander. So Commander Carson, Commander Carson has been trying to get a grasp of being a quality NFL quarterback ever since he injured his leg way back in 2017. And now he's back in the NFC East. And it's unfortunate because in practice, he threw 3 picks. And I know I work in an area where in Philly, the Philly Eagles fan is eating it all up and loving every minute of it, because they're saying, see, we all told you that this guy was garbage, and now you all are seeing it. You saw how he was in Indianapolis. He had 2 opportunities to get the Colts in the playoffs. He choked miserably, and now here he is. He can't even get into the preseason, and you're seeing how inept he is. That is how Eagles fan is. I know, because I work with 4 of them. And I'm friends with a few others, and that's exactly how they roll. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not calling them out on it. I'm saying that basically is a fandom thing. When you see somebody that just doesn't cut the mustard elsewhere, you'd say, see, that's what I'm talking about. That's how it was when David Carr went elsewhere. And yes, he ended up getting a ring, but he got a ring as a 3rd stringer for the Giants. Anyway, I could talk about that endlessly, but that's just how it rolls. Now, let's go to the NBA, shall we? One of the NBA statesmen, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, talked about the slap heard around the world literally. And that, of course, took place back in late March when Will Smith decided to get up on stage at the Academy Awards and slap Chris Rock's taste out of his mouth. So the captain wrote a pretty aggressive article back then about the incident, but he decided to take a more decidedly calmer tone. I think that's the best way I could put it. And he said, quote, "We all have shortcomings. Celebrity merely amplifies them to the world. Every misstep is an opportunity for growth, and it appears that Will Smith, is embracing that opportunity. We should do our part and support him. It's what we would hope for ourselves from others." Close quote. Captain, let me see if I can put it in some way, shape, or form that I can say it. I can't say it any better than this. Go ahead, Teddy.
You for real?
Look, Will's going to do what Will's going to do. And now he's trying to spin it to where it's like, well, hey, I apologize. I haven't received it on the other end. Well, you put forth that energy, you get what you give. And that's the best I can put. As far as Kareem goes, well, I get what you're doing, sir. You basically are one who has made it easy for me to embrace athletes who actually have a brain. And in this case, I'm not saying you're fully wrong. Your premise is correct. The person to whom you're directing it to, nah, just doesn't work. Sorry. I would love to say it does. It doesn't. And finally, let's go to Green Bay, shall we? And it is Aaron Rodgers. Yes, the Packers QB, the one who supplanted Brett Favre back in 2009, and he has been the starting quarterback ever since then. He said that in the last few years, he has taken a hallucinogenic drink called ayahuasca, spelled AYAHUASCA. Ayahuasca. That is how it's pronounced. So the quarterback took to a podcast and he said the following, quote, "I don't think it's a coincidence," talking about his MVPs in 2020, 2021. I really don't. I really don't believe in coincidences at this point. It's the universe bringing things to happen when they're supposed to happen. There's signs and synchronicities all around us at all times if we're awake enough to see them and to take them in and to listen to our intuition when it's speaking to us or pounding us in the head saying, "Hey, dummy, this is what you're supposed to be doing." Close quote. Well, sir, let me climb into your brain and play your intuition. Because your brain is saying, ayahuasca, you can't win a playoff game. You suck in January. You're the best regular season quarterback of all time, but you can't do jack in January. Who cares about you winning MVPs? You only have one Super Bowl to show for it. And, sir, that just isn't good enough. And that concludes headlines. Now, when we come back, I think we'll have to talk about Kevin Durant and he placing an ultimatum on the Nets. Oh my gosh, you just have to hear it when I talk about it. Come on back.
want to do a TED Talk, but I don't have anything to talk about yet. I'm getting there.
Life is for the living. We're not here that long.
You can learn anything you want to learn without any money spent.
What do I really enjoy? What do I really want out of life?
I am your host, WIZE.
Are you in a life holding pattern? Well, this is for you. Welcome to the Stuck in My Mind podcast. This is a BS3 Network presentation.
I want to show that attainability. I want to show the accessibility of this kind of lifestyle.
From social media to having conversations with friends and family, you always have to put on face and say face.
What brings a smile to my face is the one person that totally believes in me, and that's my beautiful wife, Jody.
I just had to stop because I didn't value myself. I didn't love myself. And it's like, I have to learn to love myself.
Changing the world one conversation at a time. This is Revelations. Welcome back. Cole Johnson, go sports. And Kevin Durant, come on, dude. Okay, for those who've not heard, maybe you've heard this anyway. Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn. Yeah, I know you've heard this all throughout the offseason. However, he has reiterated his stance to the point where he has given the Nets brass an ultimatum. And for that, I simply have to go in. Oh, boy. All right, before I do get on to the tag, let me say hello to my man Ben of the BS3 Network. Good afternoon to you too, sir. He says Brooklyn mess has been a mess from the jump. Oh, have they been? Have they been? And here's how big of a mess it really is. So now, imagine July 1st, 2019, when the coup was made and everybody in New York was saying it's a Nets town now. It's not the Knicks anymore. It's the Nets, and the Knicks are the second best franchise basketball wise in all of the New York area. Well, for that I have to say, and
you've got to be joking me.
I said that then. Of course, 3 years and 1 month later, I definitely say it now. Because what do the Nets have to show for it? Let me see. They have 3 world championships. 2 world championships. Fine. 1 world championship. Okay, 3 playoff victories, playoff series victories, 2 playoff series victories. Well, they did participate in Game 7. Yeah, they did that, but they've only won in the 3-year span of the Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving experiment, 1 playoff series. 1. So now Durant, of course, seeing the circus that Mr. Kyrie Irving has been, Mr. Woke People's Champion, Mr. Rebel without a pause and a cause. Uncle AWOL. When he sees this act happen, but it's allowed, he wants out because he wants to go back to what he experienced when he was over in the Bay Area. But I'm sorry. Nobody feels sorry for the Nets, and nobody feels sorry for you, Mr. Durant. And why do they not feel sorry for you? It's quite simple. You heard in your ears, you ain't nothing. Yeah, you may have been the finals MVP twice. You may have garnered the MVP once. You may have won 2 championships, but you know those 2 championships are because of Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Stephen Curry and Steve Kerr. It's not because of you. You need to be your own team. And then you, of course, listen to those like a Charles Barkley who says that you can win a championship because you're a great player, but you are not a bus driver, which I get the reference. You have the ability to play on a team where you can insert your will when necessary. But if it is the fact that you are the focal point as to why the team wins, not so much. And I think you have been thoroughly disappointed. You've heard too many of your handlers say all of this stuff, and now we're at the position where we don't feel sorry for you. We definitely don't feel sorry for Kyrie. We don't feel sorry for the general manager, Sean Marks. We don't really feel sorry for the Nets head coach, Steve Nash. That is probably the most I would feel sorry for in this whole situation. And I don't even feel sorry for the owner of the team, Joe Tsai. I don't feel sorry for any of you. Not an iota of sorry, not an iota of contrition. I am not saying, man, I wish you didn't go through this. No, you brought this on yourself. You were like, well, hey, the league has been trying to build itself on super teams. Why don't we build a super team of our own, and we can do this and have 10 different courts and 10 different uniforms and show up and show out and have this new stadium filled with celebrities and all that type of stuff. And now you've realized that basically you have nothing but a barn in Brooklyn that you can't fill unless you have a team like the Lakers make it there, or the Warriors make it there, or a team that's close to you like the Sixers or the Celtics that have a good rabid fan base that don't mind traveling. But if it has anything to do with what's on the court, because you got Brooklynites saying on the middle of the street, come on! It is ridiculous how you all are. And it is like what Ben says. I 100% agree with him. There isn't a person I feel sorry for. And I will say to you this plainly and simply. Mr. Tsai, you have a player who is disgruntled. Well, actually, you have 2 players that are disgruntled. But what I love about this scenario is Mr. Irving found out that, yes, he could be disgruntled, but nobody was going to take his act for the asking price that he wanted. This guy probably wanted to get paid close to $40 million. If he was going to get $4 million, he'd be fortunate. And he found out that the bread is buttered best in Brooklyn, and that's where he is now. And Durant, seeing this act for 2 out of the 3 years, because I had to give him the first year. The first year he wasn't the space cadet that he was the following 2 years, because he was hurt most of the year, talking about Irving. And Durant probably didn't have to deal with it at all because he, of course, was recouping from his injury, the one that he suffered in the 2019 season. But you witnessed it in 2021 and 2022. You witnessed how ridiculous this act is. You don't want any parts of it. You want to go where all they do is hoop. All they do is ball, because in Brooklyn, you don't do any of that. You don't ball. You don't do any of the basketball acumen that, say, for instance, when you go back to Manhattan and you go to Rucker Park, you were thinking that you was going to feel something similar to that. You was going to feel that type of energy. Nah, bruh, it wasn't happening. It's not going to happen. It hasn't happened. It's not going to happen. So now you can tell Mr. Sy it's either him or me. It's almost like that old school Today song. Do you really want him? Do you really want me? Do you really want him? Do you really want me? That's how you are. You're the lead singer today, right now. You're the lead singer of that old school R&B group today in saying, do you really want him or do you really want me? The one thing you have to learn, Mr. Durant, is that you aren't as marketable as you think anymore. And you aren't as tolerable as you used to be. And when I say tolerable, a player of your stature who commands the big bucks, who is considered the number one player on the team because you have the wingspan of a center and the jump shot of a shooting guard and the handles of a point. You have all these talents and you're unafraid to play defense. The only issue with you is really your size. And I'm not talking about your height, I'm talking about your build. Because it has given privy to now, since you have put so much weight on it and so much time on it and so much tire tread on it, now you have to deal with injuries. But that's you, my friend. That's what you have to deal with now. And so here you are, you're on the doorstep of the 34th birthday, and you're throwing demands out here like you're baking cookies. No, sir. No, sir. You only have one playoff series victory to show for it ever since you wore the Nets uniform. You have made this bed, sir. It is now time for you to lay in it. But you don't want to do that. It's not comfortable enough for you. Oh, well. It's not my fault that you are part of an inept group. Because you're going to be like this. Actually, you probably have been like this for the last 2 years.
No!
And if I were you, that's exactly how it would be when it comes to Kyrie Irving. No. No. Oh, my gosh. What a buffoon. Brother. Okay. When I come back, the DOLT of the week. You're listening to the classiest sports show on the planet. Call Sports! From the vault, a look back at a key moment in sports history. August the 6th, 1999. So get this. We're in Montreal. Yes, there was a team in Montreal. The Expos were hosting the Padres, and this was a weekend series where two teams really weren't battling for much because the Expos traded away all of their talents that they had in the mid-90s. Meanwhile, the Padres were licking their wounds off of their World Series trip the year before. But it wasn't for bragging rights for first place for either team. But it was about one Tony Gwynn, one of the greatest hitters of all time and possibly the greatest hitter of that era. Stepped up to the plate, having 2,999 hits under his belt when it was time for him to notch hit number 3,000.
Smith is ready. Gwynn waiting to pitch. There's a drive, right center field, base hit, and there it is! Ho-ho, doctor! You can hang a star on that, baby! A star for the ages for Tony Gwynn, number 3,000. Well, the entire Padre ball club is heading to first base to congratulate Tony. The entire team is out there. not too many men. As Tony's mom is out there. His mother's out on the field. Here comes Alicia, his wife. Now we're going to have about a 10-minute delay here because of the moment in Major League Baseball history.
The Padres went on to win that game 12-10, but that doesn't matter. What matters is you have the great Tony Gwynn notching hit number 3,000 on this date in 1999. We'll be back.
From the vault, brought to you by Go Sport. This is a journey into crime. A podcast journey that tells the stories of those long forgotten or those easy to remember. We go on a journey that reveals mystery, intrigue, and offers more twists and turns than a country highway. We have looked over cases, we've combed over evidence and testimony, yet we still are left with no answers. Sometimes, in order to get a deeper understanding of something, you must return to view. Now available for download for subscribers only. Each episode premieres only on the USA Today network. Join now for just $1 to receive premium content like Return to View. That's $1 to become a subscriber and a Return to View loyal listener. Alicia.
You can't hold somebody to that standard if you haven't voiced what you want and what you're needing from that.
Mika.
If you're not communicating expectations, you're waiting for your feelings to be hurt.
Nicole.
A lot of people don't want to take the time out to be alone and to get themselves together.
Ivan.
You got to be willing to work through stuff. And from the jump street, y'all done had problems. Maybe you don't need to be working through those.
BS3 Network proudly presents Queen 3 and King podcast. Live every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central.
Welcome back to Sports on Another Level, Cole Sports. I am Cole Johnson. And many thanks to the BS3 Network. So glad to be a part of that family. And they have so many good programs. Check them out. BS3 Network, you can find them on Roku TV or bs3tvlive.com. I enjoy being a part of this family. What I'm not enjoying is what I'm about to talk about now. And it is not one, but two. Who were this episode's DOLT of the Week? DOLT of the Week is sponsored by nobody. The winners of this episode's DOLT of the Week are... Cathy Engelhart and Adam Silver. Now, for those who don't know who they are, Cathy Engelhart is the commissioner of the WNBA, and Adam Silver is the commissioner of the NBA. Now, why are they getting this cold distinction, you may ask? I'm so glad you have pondered the question. Here's that answer. So when they found out that Brittany Griner, let me backtrack. So February, 6 months ago, you had Brittany Griner, who had to travel to Russia because, she had to get that money. because she has child support to pay, when she was arrested for having CBD oil in her bag. And she has been in prison ever since. She just had her trial where the sentence has been put down, and she is to spend 9 years in jail, in a Russian jail. Now, there has been outcry ever since May. I have heard stories about her arrest in March, in April, and nobody mentioned it. In May, you had rumblings, and in June, you had some more rumblings. You started to have the big time rumblings in July, and now you have her in jail. And there was a joint statement that each commissioner put forth, and it said the following. Goodness gracious. Quote, today's verdict and sentencing is unjustified and unfortunate, but not unexpected, and Brittany Griner remains wrongly detained. The WNBA and NBA's commitment to her safe return has not wavered, and it is our hope that we are near the end of this process of finally bringing BG home to the United States. Close quote. Okay, you two, let me break this down. Unjustified. She is a CBD user. Now, I'm not saying CBD oil user, and I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that's wrong. In fact, I know why she uses it. It is because I have read up on this. This is an anti-inflammatory, and it helps aid athletes heal a little faster from workouts and aches and pains that they would get and contract throughout a workout or a game and throughout the season. I get it. Heck, Magic Johnson owns a CBD oil company. I understand that. So it isn't that I think that Brittany Griner is a thug and Brittany Griner is a criminal. I'm not coming from that angle. I'm not even coming close from that angle. But if you're going to have something like that in your person or on your person, in your bag or on your body, doesn't matter. Know the laws before you enter. That's all I'm saying. Know the laws before you enter into that domain. Know them. Study on them. Unfortunate? Yeah, it's unfortunate to a degree. Go back to the last point I just said as to why I don't really think it's unfortunate. Because she brought it on herself. And of course, it's not unexpected. The woman has been using CBD oil. In fact, she has medicinal reasons to use it. But the wrongly detained part, wrongly detained.
You for real.
Wrongly detained. Well, no. She's rightfully detained. Now, she might not be detained for the right crime or length of time. I will cop to that, yes. But wrongfully detained? No, she broke a law.
What?
I'm sorry. She broke the law.
What?
She broke the law.
What?
She broke the law.
What?
She broke the law. I do not care about the woke crap. I do not care about this being a political prisoner crap. I do not care if she is being bait for the United States to trade one another prisoners. I don't care. Because I can politically go into a tangent and say, well, hey, it looks like with President Joe Biden, he's in a lose-lose situation because it's a lose that you don't communicate with Russia and you have Brittany Griner in jail. And it's a lose when you do communicate with Mr. Putin, with President Putin, and you do a swap because it's been a long-held line written and spoken in movies where they would say the sentence, quote, "We don't negotiate with terrorists," close quote. So now you have that out the way. I don't care if it is my mother, my father, my wife, me. I don't care if it's any of my friends on the BS3 network. I don't care if it is any family member of mine, both on my marriage side and my own side. I don't give a crap. If any of us were to go into Russia with CBD oil and it is the wrong amount, guess what we have to do? We'd have to look in that mirror and say, "Oh man, I screwed up," and pay the consequences. I don't like that for anybody, but that I don't even like it for Brittany, but that is where she is. And don't give me the, "Well, she's wrongfully detained," and don't give me the, "Well, if it's somebody else that I won't ever mention unless it's Wednesday on the Daily, if it's him, then it would be different." No, it won't be. He'd be dangled out for bait to have President Joe Biden communicate with President Vladimir Putin too. Athletes, when it comes to the world of politics, are a fly. They are a fruit fly on the barbecue of life. They know the name draws the attention, but what they really want is something much bigger: money, arms, a more important prisoner. But there is something that's more important than the big athletic name that the other country will dangle in front of the other president to say, "We got your precious whatever here. What are you willing to do to get him or her?" That's the situation you have here. But don't give me this other crap about this is unjustified and this is wrong. No, it's not. She broke the law. Simple as that. Now, here's another thing that makes me laugh, and I have to shake my head. I'm seeing many of these woke champions, these woke warriors saying, "Well, this 19-year-old snowflake that traveled to Russia had more CBD oil on her, but only got a couple of months and a fine." You know what I got to say about that? How about let's not set the bar so low. Let's set the bar high. Like, let's say they traveled to Russia with zero, and then they dealt with it. Zero. No CBD oil. They didn't commit a crime. We're not going to compare crime to crime, because guess what? The white snowflake committed a crime and Brittany Griner committed a crime. To me, it's equal. They committed a crime. They broke a law in another country. Live with it. Do I think a trade is going to happen? Possibly. Do I think Brittany Griner is going to go 9 years strong in Russian jail? I don't believe so. But this goes to show that you just can't act like an ugly American, so to speak. You can't be arrogant and think that, well, hey, our laws here make us do whatever we want to do across the world. You'd be just like a boy back in 1994 who was in Singapore spray painting cars and buildings, and he ended up getting lashes for punishment. We don't do lashes here in the United States, but in Singapore they do. Because he broke a law there, that was what he was subjected to. Same goes with Ms. Griner. I'm sorry, Ms. Engelhart. I'm sorry, Mr. Silver. You're absolutely wrong in this department. So go somewhere with that. This isn't the time nor the place. See ya. Then Scully, Golden voice forever. We'll honor him next. Upon further review, Perfect is next.
Steph Curry, Tim Anderson, Jordan Alvarez. And it's caught! Debo Samuel with the catch. Michael Jordan can sense. The throw just got the king.
BS3 Network. The hottest of hot takes. The coldest of cold hard facts. This is Snowman in the Morning with Gold Johnson. Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern. Check your local listings for your viewing and listening pleasure. Discouragement, sorrow, distance. Your arguments cause damage to your family. The hurt leads to divorce. You feel like there is nowhere else to turn. But there is hope for you. That's where we come into play. There is an overcomer that lives inside of you. One ready to take on the world as you leap for joy, living in victory. You'll grow to love yourself and others. There's life after divorce, and you can claim it today. Get Over Divorce, where your new story begins here every Thursday on YouTube and Spreaker. Do you want to watch this episode commercial-free and uncensored? Plus have exclusive access to content you won't see anywhere else? Well, now you can. Cole Sports is now on Patreon. Become a patron today.
Coming up on next week's edition of Cold Sports, we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson and the NFL, how they just keep getting it wrong. And we'll talk about Serena Williams as well, announcing her retirement possibly after the U.S. Open. That is for next week, though. For this week, along with paying our respects, of course, to the great late now, Bill Russell. Congratulations, King, on your transition to the afterlife. We will honor another legend, not in basketball, not in football, not in hockey, not in golf or tennis, although he has called many of those games in many of those other arenas, but chiefly baseball. We honor the great Vincent Edward Scully. And upon further review.
Vincent Edward Scully. A man born and reared in New York, but is considered a Los Angeles icon. A man with PGA and NFL announcing ties, but is synonymous with Major League Baseball. A man who worked with CBS Sports and NBC Sports, but became a KLAC and a Sportsnet LA staple. Vin was New York to the heart, but he loved LA, and LA loved him. This beloved LA icon grew up in Manhattan to a silk salesman and a homemaker, and had a younger sister. Scully's father died when he was 4 to pneumonia. Scully learned the art of hard work very early in his life. Maybe that's why he was so good at his craft of broadcasting. In another twist of irony, Scully's love of baseball began with the 1936 World Series. In one game, the Bronx Bombers had their way with the team he drew sympathy for, 18-4. He became a member of the New York City Police Athletic League and the Catholic Youth Organization. He was then able to attend games for free at this ballpark. Vin Scully, in his childhood, was a self-professed, very big Giants fan. It's understandable because that ballpark I mentioned was the Polo Grounds, and he lived near it and got a chance to watch the Giants play. But a Dodgers icon, a Giants fan? Quite interesting. Scully served 2 years in the Navy before becoming an English major at Fordham University. He helped form the FM radio station WFUV, who presents a Vin Scully Lifetime Achievement Award every year. He called baseball, football, and basketball games for the college, while also playing center field and singing in a barbershop quartet. After he graduated from Fordham, he sent 150 letters all along the East Coast, with only the Washington, D.C. CBS radio affiliate WTOP responding back and hiring him. After impressing CBS Radio Network sports director Red Barber, once he called a Maryland-Boston University game at Fenway Park in November 1949, on the roof, wearing no coat and gloves, but never complained about being cold on air, he took the young Scully under his wing. It was there that Scully's trademark way of announcing was honed. Scully's style was that of an informative but impartial announcer, with no blatant bias connections to any team. The Barber-Scully tandem joined Connie Desmond in the booth of the franchise Vin became synonymous in covering, the Dodgers. In 1950, though, the franchise wasn't in Los Angeles yet, as they were still in Brooklyn. They replaced Ernie Harwell, who became the voice of the Giants. After getting in a salary dispute with a sponsor, Scully slid in Barber's chair and became the youngest to ever broadcast a World Series. Mind you, Scully was only 25 at the time. That distinction still stands to this day. When Barber left the Dodgers to work for the Yankees in 1954, the Dodgers' principal announcing duties fell on the then 26-year-old Scully, and the marriage between him and the Dodgers fully began from there. Once Scully moved with the Dodgers from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, he became an instant hit with Southern Californians. Considering the Dodgers played at the cavernous Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum from 1958 to 1961, many fans brought with them transistor radios to follow Scully. To some, they brought play-by-play action with them. To others, they were getting an education on a sport that didn't have quite the huge presence in that area as in others. In either case, once Dodger Stadium was built, and the Dodgers moved there in 1962, radio and TV engineers had a tough time compensating for the sound of Scully's play-by-play bouncing all around the park. Scully's popularity was such that in 1976, he was voted the most memorable personality in the history of the Dodgers. But his impact just wasn't with the Dodgers, nor was it just reserved for baseball. When was I introduced to this broadcasting icon? I think many of you are familiar with this game. January 10th, 1982, there was an iconic moment forged, and Vin Scully was right there to call it.
3rd and 3. We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone. Clark caught it! Dwight Clark!
Scully called NFL games on CBS from 1975 to 1982. He also covered golf events and even tennis. However, the pull of his first love got greater, and his intelligence possibly got insulted along the way. Scully and Pat Summerall platooned with this new color guy in 1981. But once CBS went with Pat Summerall in the 1981 season being paired up with said new color commentary person, Scully decided to dive headlong into NBC Sports and call baseball games there. Oh, and that new color commentator? Well, it was John Madden, the most successful color guy in all the sports industry. Scully, though, wasn't hurt one iota in moving over from CBS Sports and primarily being focused on baseball. With that being said, he still provided iconic moments behind the mic. Paired with Joe Garagiola, the pairing graced our TV sets every summer, Saturday afternoon, with the game of the week until 1989. He also called the World Series for NBC in 1984, 1986, and 1988, plus the All-Star Game and the National League Championship Series in 1983, 1985, 1987, and 1989. Many moments stand out during that stint, like the first ever Grand Slam at an All-Star Game in 1983, like a Jack Morris no-hitter in April of 1984, like the Tigers going on to win the World Series that very same October, like Ozzie Smith's walk-off homer Game 5 of the 1985 NLCS, like Bo Jackson's mammoth homer in dead center field in the 1989 All-Star Game. But there were two iconic moments during that period which stands out above the rest. There's Game 6 of the 1986 World Series.
So the winning run is at second base with 2 out, 3-2 to Mookie Wilson. Little roller up along first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it.
And then Game 1 of the World Series 2 years later.
The game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Oh, and while he did all of these things for national television, he still called games for the Dodgers. In fact, only Tommy Lasorda, by 2 years, had a longer stint with the franchise, and Scully was with the Dodgers for 67 years. He lent his voice to other events, but his golden pipes will always be best remembered for calling 9,000 games for the Dodger Blue. From 1950 to 2016, Scully was synonymous with the Dodgers. Even after his retirement, it still seems strange to have someone else or anybody else guide us through a Dodgers season quite like the Bronx-born, Manhattan-bred, Los Angeles transplant. His love of baseball lives in all of us, forever. Thank you, Vin. You made the first sport I ever loved that much more interesting to follow. Vincent Edward Scully, broadcasting icon, lover of baseball, and the voice of the Dodgers, both in Brooklyn and Los Angeles. Dead at the age of 94.
And that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for joining me. I am Cole Johnson. And this is Cole Sport.
Thank you for tuning in to Cole Sport. To download this episode, go to Spreaker and type Cole Sports with a Z. For apparel, go to Spring and type Cole Sports VIP Boutique. That's with a Z. To reach Cole Johnson, go to flowcode.com/page/host Cole Johnson. This has been a Comey Media Incorporated presentation.